Fast radio bursts were only first detected 13 years ago from immense explosions millions of light years away. The signals race through the galaxies and the nebulae, stretching as they go. Finally spotted on Earth, one radio burst's wavelength light was converted to sound. Thanks to a powerful new Canadian telescope called CHIME near Penticton, BC, scientists have determined that radio bursts can...
A signal from outer space has scientists here on Earth baffled. Yes, scientists baffled. This is the first time astronomers have detected patterned signals known as fast radio burst, or FRBS. While some believe those could derive from natural causes, others, of course, are arguing there's intelligent life could be behind
Scientists have determined that radio bursts can repeat. Watching from York University, Paul Delaney.
The repeating part of it is what is really exciting, because now we stand a chance of figuring out what these things are.
And the latest stunning discovery? A rhythmic pattern. To see fast radio bursts repeat is one thing. To see them arrive in rhythm is something else again. The signals have now been detected over 4 days and then silence for 12 days. Again, and here's that sound. Over and over for 4 days and then quiet again for 12. And this cycle is repeating every 16.3 days like clockwork. Could it be a message from millions of light years away? Just the idea of intelligence elsewhere in the universe has set the Twitterverse all a-twitter. The notion of life communicating from other galaxies makes some people nervous. One tweeted, "The truth is out there." Others are curious. Maybe they're trying to contact us, or just plain eager. Please tell me it's aliens. And radio signals with a beat? Who knows? Maybe they've got rhythm too.
Can you continue to explain this to me? What makes these signals so special from things that we've heard of in the past?
Well, if I wasn't an expert in the past, I'm quickly becoming one on these type of things. So look, this is what's happening. This is actually very, very interesting. And it's coming from a galaxy far, far away, this signal. And when I say far, far away, I mean 500 million light years all the way to Earth. Now, what makes this really special is that it's a sustained signal coming in at intervals that are basically timed. So this is not like anything we've seen in the past. It's actually a Canadian organization that first detected this. So what we're seeing is a sustained signal coming in 16-day intervals, 4 days on, 12 days off. So that's why everybody's saying, like, this is something like we've never seen before. 500 million light years away. So very interesting, and it's piquing the curiosity of scientists, obviously.
To evacuate, and thousands of homes left without power as record downpours caused chaos along the coast.
Natalia, would you take a look at this? It is almost hard to believe. We're here on the main street at Lake Conjola. We're around 100 metres away from where the lake actually is, and this is the main street, and it is flooded. At first light this morning, the waters were around 1.5 metres. They're now sitting at around 1.9 metres, and water is slowly creeping into a number of residents' homes. It was around 2:30 this morning when the local caravan park, the SES, were door knocking, warning people about the floods coming this way and giving them the option to self-evacuate. And there have been people wading through the waters here trying to get out. People around here in canoes as well, as they're taking a look at what is exactly happening here. It is so difficult to believe that this is the situation here at Lake Conjola after what an incredibly difficult start to the year is.
Day 3. And the worst yet, every inch of Sydney, not just soggy, but soaked. Rain coming down in every direction. Trees falling like dominoes. This home at Bayview split down the middle.
I screamed and I ran up to my bathroom to get away from it, and it came down.
Helping at the fire's now floods, former Prime Minister Tony Abbott. There were too many close calls to count. A cab crushed on George Street in the city, 4 passengers taken to hospital. The driver was somehow okay. Double the danger at Artarmon and Wahroonga as power lines were brought down too. In the big wet, a plastic poncho doesn't quite cut it, but these boarding school students from drought-ravaged Dubbo relished every moment.
The rain doesn't bother us. Like a normal day.
Most drivers couldn't see the upside or even straight in front of them. Roads swamped at Wentworth Point. In Jamison Town, they were swallowed. Residents in awe of their sudden water views.
Terrible rain the last couple of days. It's been absolute downpour, and this is the second time our street's flooded in 24 hours.
It was too dangerous to cross the Yarramundi Bridge, closed to traffic as the Nepean River burst its banks. The Hawkesbury gave way too, leaving the North Richmond crossing barely recognisable.
It's been an incredible spectacle.
It's not hard to see why the Parramatta River is also on flood watch.
I didn't think it'd do what it did, because the lake was virtually empty because of the evaporation and being closed. I've never seen a fire burn that side of the lake in 40 years of living here. And that was scary, and now you get this again.
Are in the path of a deadly and catastrophic storm tonight. 13 counties in southeast Texas are officially disaster zones. A storm that exploded ashore more than 48 hours ago has dumped more than 40 inches of rain in some areas, and up to a foot more could fall tonight. Rain poured down today. More than 1,000 people were rescued from flooded homes and roads. Hundreds more are still stranded, including one of our news crews. Our reporters are in the field tonight, including Janet Shamlian, who is trapped by floodwaters in Beaumont, Texas. Janet?
Nora, heavy rain was predicted, but few expected what happened here today. Floodwaters pouring into homes, people begging for help, and entire neighborhoods and parts of the city cut off, including where we are now.
Beaumont is a city submerged tonight after a steady, relentless drenching. More than 3 feet of rain in just 24 hours. The heaviest hitting overnight.
The fact that there's cars stranded and people are getting high water rescue, that's never happened in our time that we've lived here, even after hurricane.
Our team was trapped too.
The water shows no sign of receding because the rain is still falling. In fact, the floodwaters here are rising.
The storm closed Interstate 10. Drivers stranded on the highway for more than 9 hours. This Coast Guard chopper flying in to rescue someone with a heart issue.
Let's go, guys, we gotta go!
The life-threatening flooding overwhelming first responders.
Oh, look, there's a child back there.
In the Beaumont area, they lost count after 700 calls for help.
I've never seen this amount of flooding in this amount of time.
Dr. George Davis was evacuated by boat so he could work emergencies at St. Elizabeth's Hospital. Houston was also hit hard. People wading through floodwaters, cars submerged, the airport shut down, and homes surrounded.
One of the southernmost ports on the Mississippi River is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with this report about how those who navigate the river are dealing with rising waters.
When a drop of water from Minnesota or a speck of sand from Ohio finally reach Baton Rouge, they've joined the vast snowmelt and runoff from 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces. The basin is more than 1 million square miles, stretching from Montana to New York State. During an average spring, more than 7 million gallons of water and about 20 tons of sediment pass under this bridge every second, focusing the continental force of the Mississippi and billions of dollars of U.S. trade into a tightening bottleneck. In Baton Rouge, the river starts its final dash to the ocean through a 233-mile man-made channel that snakes its way into the Gulf of Mexico. Along the way, the ports of Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and South Louisiana form the greatest trading hub in the Western Hemisphere. Stephen Hathorn is president of the New Orleans Baton Rouge Steamship Pilots Association.
I believe the economic effect is around $730 billion per year. 1 out of every 6 jobs in Louisiana is from Mississippi River. I like to say it's one of our greatest, probably our greatest natural resource.
Hathorn has navigated large ships up and down the channel for decades.
Our area is one of the most treacherous pilotage areas in the world. Very congested with tens of thousands of barges, hundreds of towboats. We have, I think, 7 bridges in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge to navigate through. It can be very trying on a person.
Even in normal conditions, navigating the Mississippi is so challenging that a specially trained local pilot must steer every international freighter safely to port. But the unpredictable high water season is making that job tougher. 2019's flooding was record-setting for both its duration and volume.
We're having vessels that won't stay at anchor. We've had twisted anchors, broken chains. 10, 15 years ago, you didn't see that.
Fleeing from the flames, this possum is just one of many animals around Australia seeing its habitat go up in smoke. Australia's native fauna and flora are accustomed to bushfires, but this season has been unprecedented. Landscapes usually left unscathed have been decimated. On the New South Wales south coast, this native bird has been brought in for treatment at the local wildlife park. It's called a currawong, and its wings are singed and broken.
People presume birds are going to be okay because they just sort of fly off, but like we said, where would they fly to and what food's going to be around? Just about everything that sort of is a ground dweller of some description would really struggle, because you go and have a look now and there's just no understory to the bush in the surrounding area. So I don't think there was a species that was exempt.
Ottawa's having another look at an old plan to share firefighting resources with Australia.
One of those thinking outside of the box proposals that governments often say they'd like to do, but rarely accomplish. The Canadian government has had a proposal on its desk for 4 years, calling for the construction of at least 14 federal water bombers and a ship that would be shared with Australia, traveling back and forth between the two countries as each country hits their own wildfire season. The pitch apparently made its way up to former Environment Minister Catherine McKenna in 2016. A copy of that proposal was obtained by CBC News. The idea was quietly shelved back then, but interest in the notion was rekindled recently following Australia's desperate pleas for help in containing their wildfires.
I think when we initially proposed the idea, it was too soon. The Fort Mac fire had not occurred. There were still, and I won't suggest in the government, but there's still people in society in Canada who were denying, extreme weather events or climate change, that type of thing. I think what's important today is that the conditions are such that, look, it's real, so let's do something about it.